All right, welcome everybody to Momentum Monday tonight. My name is Michelle Ball, and I'm so honored to be hosting tonight's call and really excited to be introducing tonight's speaker, Rachel Smartt, who is a naturopathic doctor and a friend of Team Synergy, and specifically Lauren Lungal, who invited her to speak and be on our call. And tonight we're going to hear all kinds of wonderful information from her from a naturopathic doctor's perspective and a national marketing director's perspective. And I'm just so honored and grateful that she's agreed to spend tonight's Momentum Monday with us. So Rachel, go ahead and take it away. Thank you for being on our call.
Well, I'm glad. Hello to everyone. It's a little late here, but I know you worked in Australia, training their team. One team, one mission, and I'm grateful to be able to share some insight and share my story with all of you. And Lauren is just amazing. She did our call tonight too for all of our, those in the area. So she's just a beautiful, authentic, beautiful, leader. Years. And I just going to share my little longer story because a lot of people don't know the back end of my story. And I'm grateful to, share my tips at the end and then open up to any questions and answers that you have. But I have, when I was 34 years of age, I had a wake up call that happened in our family. And prior to that time, I always thought if you looked really good on the outside that you were healthy. I was married to a healthy, as a homemaker, 4 children, and my youngest was 1 and my oldest was 10. So I had 4 kids. My husband was 37 years of age, and out of the blue, no real warning, he was suddenly diagnosed with terminal adrenal cancer. And it had spread all over to his bones, and he was given 6 months to live. I never forget that day, just everything was ripped out of my life. I just saw my husband's life ticking away, and we were shocked, just what we were going to do. And with 4 little kids from 1 to 10, we just started, searching for answers. And we started learning about, researching preventative health. What can we do to extend my husband's life? It was life or to attack disease or to give the best edge on your own health was to increase consumption of raw fruits and vegetables. And so we began, of course, turning to a plant-based diet. At that time, I began to go to school to be a naturopath because I was helping my husband so much. So it was all together, 4 kids, being a stay-home mom, stepping into a whole new realm of fighting. So we began juicing fruits and vegetables as a tool to assist us in the struggle to get more consumption of raw food. And I spent literally an hour a day to juice a gallon of vegetable juice. And it was hard work. And that was another tool. We worked really hard, and in prayer. That was my formula. And I was just trying to do whatever I could to get, his body to begin to heal. And I knew the power in food. And the more I read, the more excited and the more hope I got. And in 18 months with turning to a plant-based diet and doing those things I shared, 90% of the metastases were gone with no other treatment. And I could not believe that food is miraculous. I call it God's chemotherapy. And 90% of the spread in his bones did not show up on the scan through nutrition and through what we were doing in prayer. And I was so excited. The only problem was I was spending so much time, running around with all my kids as the little time I had, trying to keep my husband as healthy as happy. And he was working, and he started doing really well. He worked with Adidas America as a manager, and a neighbor had come to me, and she shared through those past years, Juice Plus, and I dismissed it. I didn't think you could put fruit and vegetable in a capsule, and I thought that being healthy and fighting for life had to be hard, and I dismissed it until the 18 months or about 2 years into it. I realized, and I felt like I needed to know if Juice Plus really was whole food, and I was not looking for a vitamin. And I wanted to see the real research because I had almost finished with my degree, and I really felt you cannot get fruits and vegetables from a capsule. But when I looked at the research, I realized it was food. It was a food concentrate. It was really something simple. It was easy, so it could get me out of the kitchen. The research was really what made me step into sharing it with the people that I loved, as well as consuming it for our family. There's so much that I threw away with the juicing, and it was all the sugar I was worried about with the juicing, and I wanted more wider coverage. I remember once I was making my husband a big concoction of this green juice with a lot of cabbage, and I put in a lot of apples to dilute it, and he took a big swig of that, and he said, "Rachel, I think I'd rather die." And we laughed, and I just thought, I don't know what to do, but I realized with the Juice Plus, it was juicing done without having to taste it all and getting more quality, more nutritionally dense food. So I'm so glad that I looked at it, and I wish that I would have done it sooner. And I just saw that, consuming even more than the regular dose for him, he battled cancer, as my first goal was for him, and also our whole family was on board with a non-negotiable getting Juice Plus and as a way to get more raw fruits and vegetables. But the power's there, and my husband went from a 6-month diagnosis of, cancer spread everywhere. He was able to have an 8-year extension on his own health, which was amazing, because my youngest, think about a mom, with all those years, 8 years is a lot of years. My youngest she was 1 when he was diagnosed, and she was 9 when he passed away. So I had 4 children that, shifted ages. So I had one going off to college, 18, and one that was 10. And that was, amazing miracle. And my health went from, I've always had good health, but it went to good to great. I used to, always crave the, sugar when the kids would go to bed, and that totally changed. I had a daughter that got off asthma medicine, and she was doing inhalers probably monthly. And she ended up in an ER once a year for her asthma. And in 4 months on Juice Plus, she had been off all of her inhalers and had not ever been since then having any problems with asthma. So it was just seeing all of our family. My husband's doing better. My children were doing better. I saw, changes within skin, and I'm 55, and I feel like my skin looks better than it did when I was 35. And I have literally been to the sick care doctor 0 times, only well visits. So I guess, to be honest, the most important reason why I have really enjoyed Juice Plus was it protects me from the things that I cannot see or feel. You don't feel heart disease. You don't feel dementia. You don't feel cancer. And it is a protective armor-up plan to help my children live the best years and be prepared for the worst. So that's my story of how we got involved. And I began sharing the product. I signed up to be a customer and a distributor at the same time, just to offset my costs. And I really didn't have intention to share, just maybe with a couple family and friends, but mostly our family. But then when I realized that so many families needed to have a protective plan to keep their daddies at home, or to not have wake-up calls like we did, and all the juicer friends that they wanted easier ways to juice, I started sharing it. And I started realizing my passion was to empower moms. And for $50, it was a no-brainer, just originally just to make it more affordable for us. And then when I got involved with learning more about what was available with the mission-driven company, and I attended a conference, and I got to meet, Jay Martin, and just all see the doctors that were on board. And I just got more and more excited. But I did it, part-time with 4 children, and I raised them until, within, I guess it was 3 months, I was making $1,000 a month. I was in the Comma Club, and I was surprised, and I thought, ooh, this is fun money. It was shoe money, don't tell my husband money. It was my spoil my kids, and then a plan for the family vacations. And I just did it to really enjoy that $12,000 a year, just have fun. But I was raising my children, and it was something that was some part-time. But then what happened with my husband's death, some of you on the call can relate. I'm raising my 4 kids, and I had a lot that I went through. I was always so shy growing up, and my husband was the star, and it was like an identity crisis when he passed away. I did not have any insurance. My tuition was something, I got 4 daughters. They're all approaching colleges soon, and I had little business skill. And then I had a turning point that really changed everything. And I think God gives us wounds that become our core calling. And I have, like I said, 4 daughters, but my second daughter, she kind of turned away from me when my husband passed away because she missed her dad, and I wasn't her dad. I let him be Santa Claus while he was dealing with cancer so he could enjoy the kids, and I was doing all the behind the scene work with get the piano done and get your homework done, and I was more of the behind getting things done. And in attempts to give my daughter a hug one day, she gave me a real hesitant robotic hug, and I just felt so bad because I felt, my husband had died, and I felt like everybody was pulling away from me. And so I asked my daughter if she'd be open to seeing a counselor, that I had never been through this before, and I'm still alive. We're all still alive, and we have to keep moving forward. She hesitated, but she agreed. And so we ended up going to a counselor one day, and the counselor looked at my daughter and said, what do you love about your dad? And she could not say enough. And she looked up, and tears were just, going down her face, and all the memories were flooding and how much she loved her dad. And she kept going on and just seemed to be endless of what she could say. And then it got real quiet, and the counselor asked Sarah, my daughter, what do you love about your mother? And she got real quiet. It seemed like forever. And she said, and she blurted out, she goes, my mother will never, never, never fill my father's shoes. It was really hard to hear, and it's really hard to say today. And I just felt like I was ripped in half. I felt like I didn't matter. I didn't have a lot of skill. My husband was the star. And all I could hear, well, I will never be enough to matter, to make a difference. So the counselor had me leave the room. And I ended up spending time with my daughter to teach her about perspective of what really happened, because you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are. And he began to talk to her about what really was going on behind the scene of what I was doing with the magic drawers and all the things that I was able to do. And we ended up driving home after the counseling session, and I just felt so lost. It's still going to be a long road to heal and to learn how to function and to be the mom, and I lost myself. And as we got home, all my kids went off to do something fun together with their friends, and I went outside, and I was still rumbling with all I heard was, I will never feel. Went outside to just water the flowers, and I was watering the flowers, and all of a sudden the same words came to my mind, but they meant something totally different. And the words were emphasized differently. I will never, instead of saying the words that she said, my mother will never fill, it was, you will never fill Dave's shoes. You'll just have to come to fill your own, and I will show you how. And it was just an amazing spiritual moment where God told me, I have work for you. And I thought, wow, it was a relief in a way that I didn't have to be anybody. I just had to be who I was, but I didn't know who I was. So I end up, I remember writing my daughter a therapeutic letter and just said, I will never, you're right, I'll never fill Dave's shoes, but I'll fill my own, and you'll just have to love me for who I am. So I went to bed, and I just thought about, what do I want to do? And I realized I had this Juice Plus business, but I hadn't done it intentionally. I just did it, part-time, and I did it well, but it wasn't my priority, as far as a business. And I remember waking up in the morning, and I looked on my bookshelf, and I had a book from John Maxwell, which I love, one of my mentors. And it said, the title of the book was Today Matters. I thought, I can either lay in bed to feel sorry for myself, or I can get up and do something. And so I said, today matters. I'm going to figure it out. And so I ended up calling my sponsor that had been working with me, but I never focused much on this business to do it like a business or be paid like a business. And she said, I'll tell you what to do. And so I got to work, and I spent 2 years pouring into personal growth. I worked hard. I wanted that tuition support. I wanted the college benefit, the whole insurance benefit packet. And I wanted to be able to find my own self. And so I ended up, in 2 years, made it to the top of the company. I ended up, just having an amazing journey. And I remember the day that I walked to the stage, of course, getting out there, and all my daughters. I had my oldest one flying from college, and I have my second one, Sarah, there, and then my daughter, Megan, who was 16, and then my youngest, who was 10 or 9. Let's see, 9 or 10. And I gave my speech, and after I got done, I got off, and of course you get little accolades and you get a lot of hugs. And the end of the story that was so powerful was my daughter Sarah came up to me and said, she gave me a really big hug, and it was tight. It was not robotic. And she whispered in my ear and she said, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. And I realized that I turned that lemon into lemonade, and that I did it to mentor my children. That was the most important thing, is to mentor my children. I have been able to, because of this business, be able to be the mom I wanted to be. I have my own voice. I'm not my husband. I don't have to fill anybody, but I got to fill up who I was supposed to be, and to be brave and to be courageous and to have authentic voice. And I've been able to have all my children. I got 3 that have been married with Cinderella weddings. They've all entered marriage without any college debt. I've helped them with their colleges. And I have one left that's in her last year of college of her dream university. And I've been able to take them on mother-daughter dream trips. I have had just so much fun growing a team, to be able to find joy in helping people take the dreams off the shelf and to be who they're supposed to be. And so I am so grateful for this journey that I got to share with you a little bit longer in the back end. Actually, the story was so, I ended up writing a book about the whole journey of miracles, because you don't know the half of the real story, but the book kind of talks about how Sarah and I, how I was able to rise, to be resilient, to have faith, to recognize God's voice, and to be brave. The book is all about how to tell a new story. And there's it's miraculous. You'll have to be able to get it if you would like. And one chapter is all about Juice Plus. So I do a lot of business through the book, Modern Day Miracles, and just telling the story of healing, transformations inside and out. So Michelle, that's my long story. And I have some lessons that I've learned along the way. And then you can ask me questions if you want me to continue to just share some more, or you want to stop there and ask me anything, or say anything. And
you go ahead, Rachel. I'm like moved to tears here. So you just keep going. That's a beautiful story. I can't believe I heard that message and you did it. It's just amazing.
I just can't believe it. I feel so much a blessing that I was able to have my husband for so long, and I feel so joyful. This businesses have been my family. I have found who I am, and I help mothers that in the last, my husband's been gone 13 years, but in those 13 years, I've had maybe 11 to 12 people become widows in the unexpected way. So we have the divorces, we have the deaths, we have the downsizing, we have lost dreams, and we've got to be ready for the best years and the worst, because they're going to happen. And it happened to me. But I just am grateful for what I've learned, and so I can empower others. And I'm just, I know that Lauren was on our call before, and, I'm a different generation. I mean, I'm 55, and so we've got a different age of where I'm straddling the social media fence, but I do it well, and I've been successful. But I thought of some of the things you probably already know, because you have a successful team. Of course, you blend both stories together. And when I started out, they told you not to blend the story. So that held me back, because I wasn't also a nutritional expert. So that held me back a bit, because I always had to be the expert. And then I had to learn to dumb it down and get out of the room and get in the back of the room and start letting other people shine. So that was something I had to learn. But one of the skills that I have, I know Lauren and our team, she shared about how she shares with social media and asks people to do her a favor. And I guess for my audience, and for those that are on the call that maybe relate to my age, or moms, grandmas, or just whenever anybody in between, I have something that I use, and it's how to bring up casual conversations. Whether you're talking to a friend at the gym, or you're you saw somebody at the park. And I like to listen and ask a lot of questions. I just try to at least ask them 5 or so questions about their life, what they're up to. And then if I want to get to the point and not wait too long, I always use the words, it's a transition word called, I just say, I'm curious, Susie. I've been talking for a while, but, I'm curious, how do you feel about the level of your health? Do you work out? Or, if I'm doing something at school, or do you work out? I just, you mentioned to me some things that you shared in what you do. And I thought, I didn't know if you're one of the ones, and I use that. So I'm curious. I didn't know if you might be one of the ones that might be interested in our free program for kids, because you got kids and you mentioned you had struggles there. Or I didn't know if you're one of the ones that, you mentioned that, are looking for a way to add more fruits and vegetables or more nutrition. I want to make sure I share something that really mattered to our family. Would you be open for me sharing my story? So those are some transitional words that have worked well for me to not sometimes people don't ask questions about you. So you could talk and ask, and then you wonder how you're ever going to get around to the Juice Plus or something. So I like to say, hey, I'm curious. And it kind of goes back to where I could ask them something, just curious, out of the cup. I just wanted to ask you something I'm thinking about or thought of you or whatever. Another thing that I use is to assume, assume the sale verbiage or connecting somebody. If I haven't spoken to somebody for a while, I may, just reach out and just say, I'm reaching out to you. I didn't know if you're one of the ones that was interested in getting a free recipe booklet. We're giving out some clean eating recipe booklets, and I wasn't sure if that would be something that you would like. A lot of people that I'm asking love it. I didn't know if you're one of the ones. So that's another little verbiage that I could share. And if I'm following up, if I'm calling a customer that's only on the trio blend, and I wanted to share maybe the shred or the shakes, I go, hey, Susie, I was just reaching out to you. I didn't know if you're one of the ones that was interested in our Shred 10 program that we brought out this year, and it's changing so many lives, and I haven't shared that with you. Are you one of the ones that might be interested in that program? It may be you, it may be a fit, something you'd like to do, but I want to make sure you're included into that. So those are some other like little verbiage, things that I share. And then what else? I know that a lot of you may be here learning. You're on the teams, you're growing your businesses, but I didn't know, Michelle, if you'd like me to share one thing that I share with my team about getting the most out of conference. It's kind of nice, not just go to a conference and then just hope that you absorb what you need to absorb, but you can do more intentional, awareness. Do you want me to share anything there? I'm not sure who's on.
Please do.
A lot of times we have teams that go to conference and they may take notes, but I kind of share with my team something they can really go away from the conference by, being able to go into the conference and then taking notes in a certain way that you come out of it with a real big way to change or tweak some things in your business. So I teach them to, when you're taking notes, when you hear something that's powerful, like a verbiage or a story that you like the way they shared their story or the way they shared something, put a little V by the side of your notes, and that stands for verbiage, so that when you get through with your conference, you go back to, I like the way she said that, so all these are the things I like to tweak within my story or my follow-up. So a V is for verbiage. And then if I'm going to conference, which I love, I always try to get really good at better at my dreams. Our dreams change. We can get slumps because we have a big vision of why we're doing this, and then we kind of settle in a bit. So I always like to get reignited by what do I really want, or what do I want next, or what do I want to have more of. And so when I see somebody say something, or I put a D by the dream, a bigger dream, and so I can be more passionate about what I'm doing. And then if I hear some information I want to share with the teams, that's maybe something science related, I put an I in my notes for information. And then lastly, I guess skill set, something I don't know how to do. And I know I'm learning about, messenger, how to do verbal messengers and things like that, maybe a skill set I need to learn more of. And then what am I going to do to take things to action? So when I come back from conference, I go through my notes and I take out those little pieces of the skill set, the action step, the dream, and the verbiage, and maybe some information, and I put it on a one page. And then I just focus on 3 things that I will do differently in those areas. So that's kind of a way that I teach my team how to come to conference with, being more intentional with what to look for so they can actually change things when they get back.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. That is so good. Thank you. Is there anything else?
Those are just, I looked at the other notes. I thought maybe you already have, other things that you share. And I do a lot of connection calls, but, not through Messenger as much, but I make it easy for people to introduce me by saying, I asked a good friend of mine, a mentor, to do me a favor to share her best tips and some of the resources to, help you get your best, start with your Juice Plus, or I want her to be an option for you. And she said she would give you some resources. And I thought you would relate to her because she has 4 children. That's kind of the way I do the sharing part, to get me in front of, a person to paint vision. And then I just try to, get people to connect with me or to an event to hear more, to learn about options and resources. And those are words that I use a lot, so people don't feel like we're attacking them, or, it's kind of a disarming verbiage as well.
Oh,
Rachel, you are amazing. I'm just going to jump in here now. I'm sorry. I went and got ready for bed a little bit in between our calls, but I cannot tell you how thankful I am for you and our friendship and you sharing on this call tonight. And I'm going to jump in and just ask you a couple questions now. And then if there's a couple people that want to ask some questions before we wrap it up tonight, I'm sure if Rachel, you don't mind, I know it's quite late for you, but if you don't mind answering a couple for us, if there's anybody. But one thing that I thought that would be great for all of us to hear is, there's so many people that you're talking to, customers, prospects, and people say, oh, I just have to talk to my doctor about Juice Plus first, or I have to talk to my naturopath before I take Juice Plus. What do you recommend we say to those customers or prospects? And what do you recommend we give those prospects to take to their doctor or naturopath?
Mm-hmm. Well, I like that question. I think just say, I know that it sounds like to me that you're really concerned about getting the best, benefit for your health. And I says, I use a third party validation. We work with a lot of different doctors that are really concerned about, safety. And one of the things the doctors love about Juice Plus is it's actually a food. It has the same label as it would on a bag of broccoli. It is a research and that's why a lot of doctors recommend it. So I want you to ask your doctor, is it okay if I can eat as much fruits and vegetables if I want to? Am I limited by eating fruits and vegetables? And if they say yes, then I would get a new doctor. I need to know, unless there was some reason why you're limiting me eating fruits and vegetables. And then I would love to get you something to give to your doctor. And I would give them the 2-page summary, the summary of the research in the back of your virtual office. That's very good to give them, the summary of it. And I had a doctor once that was taking people off Juice Plus because he didn't understand the research. So I had to be very brave and go in there and just say, I really admire you as a doctor. You always want to compliment them. They're doing good work. And I said, people value your opinion. What do you know about the research behind Juice Plus? Not what did you know about Juice Plus? What did you know about the published research about Juice Plus? And he says, he went on and said, I don't really think it does what it's supposed to do. And he went on and on. I said, my husband's life was saved, by getting more raw fruits and vegetables, and it showed up in the blood work. And he went on to the whole business side of it, which was a long time ago. And I said, so what you're saying is you have a problem with the marketing model, which has changed. So I know people are asking you, what you think, but you're basing information that happened 10, 15 years ago, which is different now. And I just thought you might want to know what's really going on with the research now that is beyond amazing and showing up blood work. And I just want you to know what people are asking, so you can be the credible doctor that people know that you can be. So, I end up having to do that, but, don't be taking people off and saying it causes seizures, so you may have misinformation, but just go back and say, I know you want to have the best health, or I know your doctor wants to give you the best, but a lot of doctors don't know about, they're scared to death of supplements. They don't want to conflict anything. Just ask them, is it okay if I eat an abundance of raw fruits and vegetables? Are you limiting me doing that? And then give them the research and then show them the bottle. It's a food label.
I love that answer. Thank you so much. That was so helpful. And one more question. As a naturopathic doctor, what strengthened your product belief? Like, obviously you have the most amazing story, and that might be your answer, just how it's helped how it helped your husband, how it helped your family, how it's helped you. But do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I guess for me, I'm a big cellular health person. I mean, my husband, anybody that's sick, you don't see a disease come out into a symptom state until about 70 to 90% of the disease has manifested it. So when I looked at the research that's published, peer review, and it shows up in human blood plasma, not in animals, that got me really excited about, what you're doing at the layer below what you can see. That's more important to me than all the testimonials, although we love those. And I have a ton of them. And, you have to read my book because you'll be blown away with the biggest story of my daughter, what happened to her. And if she wasn't ready, she's actually in the Barrow Institute on a big mural because they had blown up this big miracle happen. If she wasn't protected, she would have never had the miraculous outcome. And I'll tell you that story if you'd like another time, because that will make you all be blown away. But it was a world-renowned surgeon it showed up in, he put her whole story on this Big Barrow Institute because of what happened, and it would never have happened if she would not been protected way before she needed it. So that's another story. But I just have seen it in my own self. I've seen it show up, but it's really it's research. You can't dispute it. And when people come to me as a naturopath and say, what do you think about this berry or this green thing or something? All I have to say is, it sounds like you really want the best health, right? Because you're looking for that. I said, show me the clinical human blood plasma research, not animals. And many say, oh, we have lots of research and their company's only a year old. I go, show me. And it's all on animals. I go, I'm not interested in animals. I'm interested in human blood plasma. And if you can't show it to me, then, I just never could even look at it. And it solves all the problem. But, ours, Juice Plus with the human blood plasma research, that is what sets us apart than any other company out there. And it's foundational, wide spectrum, whole food. And then, of course, we have an edge on the 15 more plants with the shakes. And I just have so much confidence that it would be the last thing I would ever give up. And for my children and my grandkids and I've seen, oh my gosh, my children who have babies, they come out of their placentas of just, it's so intact, whether most placentas are just shredded after their babies come out. And I know my grandchildren holding their hair up after just a few, 2 weeks, like a couple months old baby, because of how that epigenetics and the way their bodies are being, fed all that nutrition, building that baby. I mean, I can't tell you enough how grateful I am that I just, somebody cared enough to share it with me. And I was impressed to be able to follow my impressions to help my family, but so many others as well.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to Michelle, and if she wants to lead any questions or finish up tonight's call.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And thank you so much, Rachel. I mean, your story combined with your professional expertise, it was just such a treat having you on our call. And if you could tell everybody the name of your book again, and we'll make sure to post that in our page where we talk about our Momentum Monday speakers, that would be wonderful. Go ahead. You can say the name.
Yeah. You get the Modern Day Miracles, and just look at her Smartt with 2 T's and you'll pull it up on Amazon. And but you could use this as a promote, because I do tell my story in there about Juice Plus. There's a whole chapter on it, but it's a very great way to say, oh my gosh, you got to hear the story, because everybody loves good, miraculous stories, and telling you, being brave in your voice and being able to bounce back. And it is if I was to die, that's probably my greatest gift to anyone. And I use that as a marketing tool, that it might serve you well to be able to give it as a gift to somebody, and then it brings up a conversation. I'm curious. I didn't know if you're, my little transitional word that, if you're one of the ones, many people are really excited about hearing those miracles, but fruits and vegetables are powerful, and also the spiritual miracles and all the other things that come to play in our lives. We've got to be able to know that we're ready for those things to come to us to serve others in a high way.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our call tonight. I'm going to end the recording, and maybe if anybody has anything else they want to ask in the chat or directly to Rachel, go ahead after. But thank you for being our speaker tonight, Rachel.